Welcome back to factoring tutorial. The first video we looked at A was not 1. Now we're going to look at A is not 1 and C is negative. Same steps apply where we set up the number here, set up all the factors, find a pair that matches the middle, and we go from there with group factoring. There's a little difference though because of the negative for the C value. So the first step, 3 times negative 4, which is negative 12. Now think about this, if I'm trying to find two numbers that multiply to a negative number, like this negative 12, one has to be positive, one has to be negative. Doesn't matter which one, I could do 6 and negative 2, or I could do negative 6 and positive 2. I just need one to be positive and one to be negative. That's where the difference is going to be. So I'm going to first just set up the list of numbers that get me 12 and not worry about the negative yet. So I got 1, 12, 2, 6, 3, 4. The next one will be 4, 3, which is the same as 3, 4. Now, if one has to be positive, one has to be negative, when I look at these, I'm not going to add that up to say 1 plus 12 is 13. I have to take the difference between them. So I always like thinking the difference between those is 11. Between 1 and 12, that distance is 11. Now, I can make it positive 11 if I do 12 minus 1. Or I can make it negative 11 if I do 1 minus 12. So the difference is 11, and I can do it positive or negative. The difference between a 2 and a 6, number-wise, on the number line, is 4. And again, I could have 1 plus and 1 negative. Here, the difference between 3 and 4 on a number line. 1, 2, 3, 4. That difference is only a 1. If I wanted to make it a positive 1, I'd go 4 minus 3. If I wanted to make it a negative 1, I'd go 3 minus 4. So those are plus or minuses. The whole goal is I'm trying to match one of those with the middle term here. Now the middle term, there's not a number in front. You don't see it. You just say plus x. So I want you to think of that as plus 1x. So the ones that work, I have plus 1x within this combination. So when I set it up, I'm going to say 3x squared minus 3x plus 4x minus 4. And if you're not quite sure, I like to kind of highlight this just so you see. I needed a positive 1x, and I changed that to a minus 3x plus 4x. And if you look at that, those are the same. I should have said this on my first video. I wrote minus 3x plus 4x, but you could have written 4x minus 3x. It doesn't matter the order that you write it in. Now we're going to take a look, and we're going to look at the first two guys and see what we can factor out. I can take a 3 and an x out. The 3 goes into both, and if there's 2 x's here and 1 x here, I can share an x. Now I go 3 times what equals 3? It's a 1. But I'm missing the x there. 3x times x gets me that 3x squared. Now notice a lot of students just say, that's it, that's all I took out, because if I took 3x out of this, all of it's gone, so there's nothing left to put. But you need to realize it's a placeholder. 3x times what equals negative 3x? That would be a minus 1. I'll look on the second pairing, and I can take a 4 out of that. When I set up my leftovers, 4 times what is 4x? I got an x. And again, 4 times what equals negative 4. There's not a blank there saying I took all of it out. You need the placeholder, the minus 1. Luckily, you notice x minus 1 and x minus 1 are the same. So I can finish my factoring by saying 3x plus 4, x minus 1. So this trinomial, 1, 2, 3 guys, we rewrote in its factored form as that. And if you ever want to check, distribute back out, work backwards, and you should land there. That was one case. Let's try another example. And here it is. Now with the camera, if you want, you can hit pause, try this one out, and then hit resume to see how well you did. Or you can just follow my steps. So here we go. I'm going to do the same setup. 2 times negative 12, which is negative 24. Again, don't worry about the negative just yet. Get all of the pairings first. So I got 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6. The next one, 6 times 4, which is the same as 4 and 6. Now the whole key again, I have a negative 24, so that means it's a difference, not a sum. So I'm looking for the difference between each pair of numbers. So 1 and 24, that difference is 23. 2 and 12, the difference is 10. Here the difference is 5. Here the difference is 2. Now remember, that difference, I can make it a plus 2 or a minus 2, depending on which one of these I choose as the positive and which one of these I choose as the negative. So in this case, I need to get a minus 5x. This guy has the 5, so it's going to be this pairing. I just got to choose wisely on which one's negative and which one's positive. So when I write this, I'm going to say 2x squared. Let's see, if I need a minus 5 when I add these, I need to say 3 minus 8 is negative 5. I don't want to say 8 minus 3 because that would give me a positive. So I need to make sure I choose correctly. So I'm going to write minus 3x plus 8x. Take a look at that. That actually gets me a positive 5. So let me rewrite and say minus 8x plus 3x. That gets me the negative 5. And I did that a little bit slower there because I want to make sure you think through which one is which. So again, my little check before I move on is I go, okay, I got a minus 5x. Let me make sure that the middle there is the same. Minus 8x plus 3x is minus 5x. So I did do it right. I do like to slow down there a little bit and make sure my signs are correct so I don't follow through with something wrong the rest of the way. Now, when I set this up, take a look at the first two guys and I'm going to see what I can pull out. I get a 2 and an x out of this one. 2x times what is 2x squared? It's an x. 2x times what is negative 8x? That's a minus 4. And here, when I pull out, I get a 3, x minus 4. You know you're on the right track when the x minus 4s are the exact same. And since they're the exact same, I can write it as 2x plus 3, x minus 4. This comes down and factors to that. So on those two examples that I did where c is negative, the whole idea is one of these has to be a negative, one has to be a positive, and you have to choose wisely to match the middle term. The next tutorial will be when a equals 1, which is actually the easiest one of the 3 examples. Thank you.